We have liftoff.
It's been a long time coming, and now interplanetary travel is about to take a huge step forward with the 5th launch of Starship Super Heavy, the largest in launch history and the biggest and most powerful rocket ever seen. What is Starship and when will it take to the skies? We'll come to all of that, but firstly, where are my manners? I'd like to welcome you to the Space Minds channel. We know you love space, rockets and the galaxy, and so do we. Just hit that subscribe button so you can join us on this intergalactic adventure, and also don't forget to ring the bell so we can update you every time we post. About the Starship mega rocket. If you think Elon Musk's Starship is just another rocket, you are absolutely mistaken. In fact, calling it a rocket feels wrong. It would be more appropriate to call it what it truly is, a mega rocket. Sure, rockets are gigantic. There are only a few things that can be as huge as a space rocket. But when it comes to Starship, no other rocket comes close. Everything about the Starship is huge, and I'll tell you why. The rocket is actually a 2-part machine. It's a whole body divided into 2 stages. The first stage of the rocket is known as the Super Heavy. The name alone is enough to give you an idea of how big and heavy it is, but I'll tell you more. Components of the Starship rocket. Super Heavy is 70 meters tall or 230 feet. To put that in perspective for you, the Statue of Liberty is 93 meters tall. Just imagine that. Well, the Super Heavy certainly lives up to its name because it takes 33 engines to get it running. Together, those 33 engines produce a combined 7.6 million kilograms or 16.7 million pounds of thrust so that it can take off. If you think that's big, wait till I tell you about the second part of this monster rocket. The second stage of the Starship is also actually called Starship. It is built to carry cargo and crew members to and from space. But just for that, they made it 50 meters tall or 164 feet. While Starship may not be as Super Heavy itself, SpaceX also made it to be powered by 6 Raptor engines that give it an incredible 3.3 million pounds of thrust. The combined weight of the 2 stages of the Starship rocket is 121.3 meters or 398 feet, which is way higher than the Statue of Liberty. The entire spaceship also weighs a combined mass of 5 million kilograms or 11 million pounds. The Starship's main structure is a special stainless steel alloy that SpaceX calls 30X. The monster rocket is built to be fully reusable in normal SpaceX custom. This way they can reduce launch costs, which costs around $100 million per launch. SpaceX launches the Starship for a 5th time. $100 million is a lot of money, even if it's for a spaceship as big as this giant. But apparently, money is not SpaceX's concern because they have launched the Starship 5 times now. And when you think about the fact that the entire Starship blew up mid-air the first 2 times it was tested, it's just unbelievable. On the first flight, the 2 stages of the spacecraft, Super Heavy and Starship, did not separate, and that led to a controlled detonation just 4 minutes after liftoff. But SpaceX is not worried about their money just blowing up in the air. They have been able to make the next test slightly more successful than the last. Although Starship blew up the second time as well, the 3rd and 4th test flights have been much better. The 4th test was even considered a complete success. But let's go deeper into each of the tests for a second to see just exactly what happened. The first integrated flight test for the Starship was on the 20th of April. It was actually slated for the 17th of April 2023, but unfortunately had to be aborted. The launch was highly anticipated by everyone. People from all over the world tuned in to watch the grand ascension of the world's biggest and most powerful rocket. It was a glorious blast-off. In fact, the blast blasted large amounts of sand and soil in the air that reached communities within a 6.6-mile radius. It was absolutely incredible. Although a brush fire on a nearby state parkland also occurred due to the blast, and it burned 3.5 acres of state parkland. But that's not all the bad news. Unfortunately, after the launch sequence took off, 3 engines were disabled and several more of them failed during the flight. Later, the booster also lost its thrust, vectoring control of the Raptor engines, which caused it to spin out of control. But it still flew high and reached a maximum altitude of 24 miles or 39 kilometers. But at that point, SpaceX already knew it was going to fail. After 3 minutes in the air, the rocket's autonomous flight termination system was activated. In other words, self-destruct mode was activated. The Starship took a few more tumbles in the air before blowing up, or disintegrating as the experts prefer to call it. Starship's second flight test. Despite the failure of the launch and the heavy losses SpaceX took, they were already working on the launch mount to repair the damage it sustained during the test and to prevent further issues. They reinforced the entire foundation of the launch tower with a water-powered flame detector built directly under the launch mount. They were ready for the second integrated flight launch, and once again, the world came watching. On November 18, 2023, the day of the second flight, and once again, it was off to a glorious start. All 33 engines fired up quite well. Super Heavy separated from Starship, this time with a hot staging technique. It even completed its flip maneuver and initiated the boost backburn before it eventually exploded somewhere over the Gulf of Mexico after multiple successive engine failures. But even with that, the Starship stage kept going. Starship continued until it reached an altitude of 93 miles after more than 8 minutes of flight. It was much better than the first stage, but unfortunately, the ship lost telemetry and, according to NASA, a safe command-based flight performance data triggered the flight termination system and blew up the Starship. Starship's third flight test. After the second flight got destroyed, SpaceX was up again, working on changes. This time, they upgraded the Starship's vector thrust system to an electric thrust vector control. The team also upgraded the measures to delay liquid oxygen venting until after the Starship engine cutoff had taken place. SpaceX called the world to come watch again on March 14, 2024. The day came, and it was another glorious launch. The rocket took off, Super Heavy separated, it started its boost back turn, everything was going fine except for one thing. The Super Heavy did not make it to the planned landing in the Gulf of Mexico. It exploded at 462 meters just above the surface. But that's just Super Heavy. Starship kept going and eventually made it to space and orbital velocity. After that, it attempted to re-enter the atmosphere, but its telemetry stopped at an altitude of around 65 miles, and the ship was lost. However, as far as SpaceX is concerned, the test was an absolute success, and NASA even agreed to it. After a successful third stage, SpaceX conducted a fourth integrated flight test on June 26, 2024. The goal was simple this time. It was just to see if the Super Heavy booster would land on a vertical tower in the ocean and to see if it could survive peak heating during atmospheric re-entry. Both missions were successful, and now Elon Musk has said that they are ready for a fifth flight test integration. Elon is very invested in this project. In fact, he believes that the Starship will take humanity to Mars. SpaceX believes Starship is ready for a fifth time. All they've been waiting for is this regulatory approval. The regulatory approval needed has come from the US Federal Aviation Administration, but while they were waiting for approval, SpaceX has been working on multiple tests to ensure the fifth test goes without a hitch. Elon Musk has already said that the heat shield tiles on Flight Vehicle 5 will be twice as strong, and they've added a new ablative protection layer underneath. As for the date of the fifth launch, it's going to be happening on 13th of October 2024, and at the time of this video landing on this channel, that's just a few days away, so you might want to save the date now so you can see the launch for yourself. All of Elon Musk's previous stages may not have gone exactly as planned, but there's no denying that there has been considerable progress in the performance of the Starship. As October 13th approaches, the whole world will be watching to see what new feats the Starship will reach this time round. Will you be watching? I certainly will be. It's going to be epic, that's for sure, and I'll be back here to give you guys all the hot news from the next launch and all the ones after it. Just make sure you check those videos out when they're released. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Space Minds for all the latest space news and updates.